No voice. Dr. Himanshu, no
Oh,
voice.
sorry, it was muted. Okay, fine. Again, good evening to you all.
Okay.
I would like to welcome you all in our today's session. It has been titled Cervical Radiculopathy, its differential diagnosis and evaluation. This topic would be taken over by our today's resource person, Dr. Charu ma'am. Ma'am has completed his graduation and post-graduation from Jamia Hamdard, Delhi in neurology. Ma'am is a licensed physical therapist in the USA. She has been ex-principal in the IBP College of Physiotherapy, Kota, Rajasthan. Ma'am is working in the field of neurorehabilitation since last more than 10 years, and ma'am is today taking the session long away directly from the Washington, USA. We are really grateful to the ma'am that ma'am has spared the time to share their precious knowledge with us. Ma'am, we welcome you all on the behalf of Team Physio Inculcator that you have spared your time. And I also want to welcome our participants who are joining us for today's session. And I would like to welcome to the all senior faculty members, Harsh sir, Ritu ma'am, Kalpana ma'am, Jiten sir, Amita ma'am, all the senior academician and faculty member who always supports us, who always bless us and give their continuous guidance. So we are really grateful to you all that you are sparing the time for us. Again, welcome Charu ma'am. And interestingly,
Thank you, Dr.
Charu ma'am is
Himanshu.
my teacher, my mentor. So it is a really a moment of pleasure and happiness that ma'am, after a long time, joining with us. Welcome you, ma'am. Please, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Dr. Himanshu. It's a moment of pride for me as well, seeing you people grow so much. Okay, so can I begin?
Yeah, ma'am. You can proceed.
Everything is clear. Audio video is good for
Yeah, ma'am.
everyone.
Everything is clear. Audio is fine. Voice is clear, and PPT is visible.
Okay. Let's begin. Okay. So today's topic is cervical radiculopathy, differential diagnosis and evaluation. So let's begin with the definition. Before going into the formal definition, I'll just tell you in brief, like what is radiculopathy. Radiculopathy means we have to, every time we are evaluating, we have to look for the okay. So let's move on. So let's begin with the pathoanatomy. So as you can see in the diagram, this is the cervical spine. There are 7 cervical spine, and they are joined together by the facet joints and the ancovertebral joints or the joints of Luschka. Okay, so the main thing we are focusing on is the intervertebral foramen. I think on the diagram on the right side, the facet joints one, you can see the intervertebral foramen from which the nerves come out. Okay, so if you see the boundaries of this intervertebral foramen, anteromedially there is the disc and posterolaterally is the facet joint. So any pathology of these two conditions of these two structures is going to affect the nerve root and the nerves coming out. Now a brief about how the nerves come out. The first cervical nerve comes out between the occiput and the C1, the second between C1 and C2, and so on. Now, they are coming out above their correspondingly numbered vertebra. That is, C2 is coming above C2 spinal, C2 segment of the spinal cord between C1 and C2. except for the C8, which comes out between C7 and T1. Okay, so next, this is again a diagram showing the cervical spinal cord anatomy. Now let's come to the pathophysiology. Now, what happens in cervical radiculopathy? One cause of this radiculopathy is compression. Now, what this compression causes to the nerve roots, to the nerves. Now, the effect of this direct mechanical compression are first conduction flow, disruption of the axonal flow, vascular sequel like hypoxia. If it is pressing on any vascular structure, there are vascular structure coming out. There is an artery coming out of the intervertebral foramen as well, and metabolic byproduct accumulation. Now, these are all mechanical aspects. There is one chemical aspect also. So, when a nerve root is impinged by the disc material, what happens next is the nerve is damaged by both mechanical and chemical pathways. There is this degeneration, ischemia, which triggers a pro-inflammatory cascade mediated by TNF alpha and interleukin 6. Now, this causes further sensitization and increased pain in that area. That area means the area of the intervertebral foramina. Now, why is this chemical aspect important? Because as physios, we are dealing with the mechanical thing mostly. We focus on the mechanical aspect, that there is compression, we have to relieve that compression. I agree that relieving the compression will obviously relieve this inflammatory thing, but we should keep in mind that the patient is having pain at that side. It might be due to this inflammatory process as well. Okay. Next is etiology. Now, the dysfunction of the nerve root, it can be secondary either due to internal causes or external causes. Anything coming from inside, non-compressive forces like inflammation of the nerves or nerve root, tumors, etc., will cause internal, that internal cause can lead to radiculopathy. External causes can be, again, two common external causes are herniated disc or facet joint hypertrophy because of cervical spondylosis or because of spikes coming with aging in cervical spondylosis. Another thing, anything that causes narrowing of the neuroforaminal intervertebral foramina, that will again lead to a radiculopathy. Okay. Okay. Now, before we go on to the clinical picture, we need to know certain things like the dermatome distribution and the myotomes of the upper limb, because these are the main information, background information to know before we can go on to evaluate, to assess a cervical radiculopathy. So, I think all of us have studied this. This diagram is just to brush up that basic info. So C3, C4, C5 deltoid area, you can see that C6 is on the radial side, then another side T1, both anterior and posterior aspect. This diagram is showing the wrist and hand as well. Now these are the myotomes. Okay, so every muscle has got different supplies from different nerve roots. It is never a single nerve root. So rhomboids has got a single nerve root, C5. If you see supra, infra, deltoid, brachialis, brachioradialis, they have got all nerve supplies from two nerve roots, that is C5 and C6. Now the one which is underlined over here is the primary root that innervates that muscle. So what does that mean? Why is that primary innervation important? Because there is a secondary innervation as well. So in case we say deltoid C5, C6, if C5 nerve root is involved, deltoid muscle may not be entirely weak or paralyzed, but there will be weakness to some extent. But it has got primary innervation from C6 nerve root, so it will be less affected as compared to supraspinatus or infraspinatus, which has got primary innervation from C5 nerve roots. So this is just an overview about the myotomes, how they are distributed. Okay, so now we'll go back to the clinical picture. So most commonly, the nerve roots that are involved are C6 and C7, which is caused by C5, C6 or C6, C7 disc herniation or spondylosis. Now the symptoms here again, they will be according to the nerve root that is being affected. So